Alright guys, for this video we're going to look at Autocrat, which is an add-on that allows you to do some processing of data and connect it to either Google Slides or Google Docs. The potential here is that you can, on the fly, once someone submits data using a form online, generate customized letters, certificates, passes, 4-year plans. I mean, really the sky's the limit here. So how do we do this? Well, I would say your first step is to go ahead and put all your tools out. Put everything that you need out there. So you're going to need at least 3 things. The first is to go ahead and create a folder. So in this example, I'm going to generate a certificate for students who enter their data online, or perhaps it might be a teacher that enters the data online and automatically generate a certificate. So I'm going to create a folder here called Student Leader Certificate. Now the reason why we create a folder is because you're going to have a lot of outputs. For every time somebody fills the form, it's going to create a new file. And if you don't create a folder, you will have so many files in your Google Drive, it'll become very chaotic very quickly, very unorganized. So to stay organized, let's go ahead and create that folder. Next, we're going to create a Google form. So what I like to do is go to forms.google.com, and then from here I can start a new form. I can use some templates. I could even kind of browse the template gallery. Maybe there's something there I can already use, or I can start from scratch. So once I've chosen my form, I'm going to go ahead and create that form. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the form. Here's what it is. So you can see Student Leader Certificate, and ahead of time you got to kind of figure out what are the fields that you need. So in this one I'm going to say first name, last name, a deed. Okay, so on the form we want to be able to describe what the certificate is about. What is the student being recognized for? What is their deed? So that's all I named it. And then a date that will go on the certificate. And you want an email address if you want the capability to send the results to someone via email. And so picture you have a teacher fill out a form, and within a few seconds she or he now or they have in their email a PDF of that certificate. They can print it out and give it to the student all within just a minute. All right, so I've got my form. And next, I want to go ahead and create the certificate. Now, what you have to know is that Autocrat allows you to use 2 different types of files. I can use a Google Slide, which is really nice if you're doing a certificate. This one comes from one of the template galleries. So all I did was customize it with, I changed it to congratulations, 5th grade leader of the week. That's what I want. I switched out this part with the customization, and let me go ahead and tell you right now, this is how it works. So where it is that I want custom information, you're going to call it something short, but definitely something descriptive enough for you to recognize it. So I can see F name is first name, L name is last name, and you have to enclose it in double alligators. All right, so you can see those 2 over here. Give it the tag name, and then close it with the double alligators on this side. Here you'll see a space which will go between the first and last name. Then I'll get the last name here. So right here you see the tag for deed. So this is where that will go. And later on, what you'll notice too in the instructions on the form, I let the person know, don't start this with a capital letter and don't end with a punctuation, because that will all go in here. Keep up the great work. And I even have the date. So it'll generate this date on the bottom of the certificate from the form. So this is using Google Slides. I want you to know that you can do the same exact thing with a Google Doc. All right, so think about generating the results of a form. Maybe you want to have a PDF of the data that a student or teacher or parent submitted into some sort of report. I actually, for example, automated a request for training. So if you go to my website, here's a Google form, and if people want to request a training, they can complete this form. And then as soon as they hit submit, I get an email with the data. So it not only goes into a spreadsheet, which helps me keep track of those, but I also get an email right away that lets me know that someone has just filled this form out. And I can see in the email right away where it is they're coming from, what do they want, and I can quickly email them back or call them. And so that makes life a whole lot easier. That's just one example. All right, so let's go ahead and go through this. Now that you've got a Google folder, you've got a document where this data is going to get merged to. In our case, we're using a Google Slide. Again, you can use a Google Doc. Now you have the form. Okay, and of course, once you finish your form, you'll publish it, send the appropriate people the link to the form. So the other thing that I might want to go ahead and cover here is that once we go to the responses, okay, notice I have one response. I just tested it out, so I sent something to myself. Once we get responses, we want a spreadsheet. So that's really the other thing we need. And by clicking on this green guy here, that's going to open up the spreadsheet. Okay, so you can see I've got one entry here. This is a brand new form. It's going to complete the data that I asked for. And then this other stuff here on the right is what Autocrat adds to the data in order for you to know that it was processed. And in fact, it even gives you a link to the actual document. So if I click on that, it opens up the PDF of the output. And so this is what it looks like. This is what the person who submitted the form, if they gave their email address, is going to get via email. Now, for you to use this, this is a one-time thing. You've got to install Autocrat as your add-on. Okay, so I already have done that. If you have not done that, you can go to Get Add-ons or just Google Autocrat. Okay, Autocrat Google, and you'll see it come up. This is a very popular add-on, and I also have it for you inside the presentation. So once you see the handout, you'll see this. There's a link to this as well. All right. So once we have the data, and again, this is a one-time thing, we need to set this up. So I'm going to go ahead and launch Autocrat. I'm going to open this up. Don't worry about getting a user key. All right, because I've already used this once, I've already processed it, I've got it here. Okay, you won't see this. So for you, it'll say you want to create a new job. For me, since I've already created this, I'm going to go ahead to edit. And by the way, once you create a job, you can run it, you can edit it, you can take a look at the preview of the job details, or you can delete it. All right. So I'm going to edit it, show you what I've done here. And basically there are 9 steps, but you only need to do 7 of them. So here's the first one, very quick, name your merge job. I called it Student Leader Certificate. Step 1 is complete. All right, so we hit next. Notice the second thing I did is I chose a template. And this is why it's important to create all of your things first. This way you don't have to go searching for them. They come up very quickly. So when I say I've already created it, so I don't have to create an example, I'm going to hit From Drive. And if I just recently created that document or slide, it'll pop up right here at the beginning. So these are my most recently used slides and documents, my most recently used files. You can also search for it. So if I put in the word leader and search, all right, there it is. It comes right up. So I click on that and I say select. And so it knows that I'm connecting to this file called Student Leader Certificate. Okay. And by the way, here's some recently used templates so you can reuse those very quickly. Let's go to next. Number 3. This is really the biggest step. So once you get through this, and it's really not that hard. From here, what we're doing, so what Autocrat has done is it has looked at your form and the headers, and it's looking at the fields within your document. In our case, it's this certificate, and it's trying to match things up. So you want to make sure that it does match things up. So sometimes it gets it right. So for example, F name maps to first name. Okay, this comes from my certificate. This comes from the form. So that's correct. And by the way, that's just a standard connection. You could make it an image. You can do a hyperlink. Most people just do standard. All right, last name links to last name. That's correct. Deed links to deed. Yep, it's doing a great job. And date. So yeah, Autocrat got it all perfect. All right. So that's it. I've made sure that my form and my target, which is either the doc or the slide, are appropriately connected. Now we'll go to next. So here is where we're going to say, what do we call the generated file? I'm calling, and you can use any of the tags in your form. So we have first name, last name. So that's what I'll do. I'll put first name and last name in here. And so when I generate a file, that's what it's going to be called. It'll be called their name.pdf. Now, you got to be very, very accurate here. So what I'm going to recommend is that rather you typing this in, click on the blue guy here, and it'll show you all of your tags. And if you click on one, it'll copy it into memory. So you can just paste it in. You see how nice that is? So that way there's no mistakes. Then tell it what you want. You can have another Google slide or you can have a PDF. Since we're doing a certificate, a PDF would be good. And then use the classic mode if you want to generate one per row. Okay? So that was the toughest step, I think. Let's go on to next. So choose destination folder. See, this is why I said you got it. Go ahead and choose. So when you hit choose folder, if you just created this folder in Google Drive, then it'll pop right up. You can easily select it. Okay, if you don't see it right away, you can search for it. But you got to choose the folder where this is going to go. Now, I will warn you that the default folder is your Google Drive. Okay, and you can save things to more than one folder. So you notice when I hover over this, you can delete. You need to delete Google Drive. All right, or else it's just going to start saving stuff without being organized. So delete the root folder, Google Drive, and add your special folder where you want to keep everything in there. In this case, student leader certificate. All right, don't forget, delete that Google Drive or you're going to have a mess on your hands. All right, next. This is one that we can skip, a dynamic folder reference. It's optional. And here's a merge condition. Again, I don't think you need to fool with this one. This is a bunch of conditions as to how the merge happens. We want to keep it basic. And so we'll go with next. And then we're getting down to the last two steps. Share your docs and emails. So do we want to share it? Yes. And that's only if you want to send it via email or, send it via email. How do we want to share this? We can do it as a PDF. And I think the other option is a Google slide or a Google Doc. Okay, so you have those other options. Do we want to allow collaborators to reshare? Probably not, unless you have that situation. Send from a generic no reply address. In this case, I said yes, but what I discovered is that it actually used my Google Gmail account. So I'm not sure why that happened, but it'll come from you or it'll come from a no reply address. And then here's where you get to kind of construct your email. So notice again, I have the email field in here. You go to the blue guy, click on your appropriate tag, and paste it in here. This is where it's going to get sent to. You can also send a copy to yourself, by the way. So you can send to multiple people. And then here's the body. Here's the subject line. Your certificate, I should say, is attached. And then in the body of the email, I can actually customize the email. So I say hi, and again, that's my tag. I got it from here. Hi, first name. Good job, attaches your certificate. And then I can actually go on. I could create a much more customized, longer email that uses all the fields if I want. All right, so there we go. We're going to hit next. And now, the grand finale, number 9, do we want to run on a form trigger? And that's yes. So what that means is every time somebody submits the form, it'll go ahead and process the new entry. Do we want to run on a time trigger? There might be times where you want to do a quarterly thing or end of the week thing. And so you also have the option of running these jobs at a certain time. All right, most people probably go through a form trigger. So I hit, that's it, we're done. We hit save. Let's go ahead and, that's it, we're done. We don't ever have to do that again. So now, next time somebody fills out this form, Okay, let's go ahead and go to preview, or this could be the link that you send out to fill out the form. Let's get one done for Shirley Johnson, and the deed is for helping another student with their homework. Okay, no punctuation, no first letters, and notice I have that in the directions. Do not start with capital letter, do not end with a punctuation. I want this certificate to be tomorrow, or let's say Monday. I'll give it to them on Monday. And my email address, let's go with my Gmail, guardingkids@gmail.com. All right, you can put any email address you want. I hit submit. And so if I go over here, there it goes. Look, it's already processing. Autocrat's doing its thing. You're going to notice Autocrat filling the data on the right side. It's just now starting the process. And once that right side is complete, we'll know. There it is. So if I go into my student leader folder, okay, I'll notice there's Shirley Johnson. This is what her certificate looked like, and looks good. So, and this is also sent to the email address that was put in the form as well. That's Autocrat.